The next part is about creating generic views. So if we go back to our code editor and let us close all of these things, this is our views file. We can see that all of the views are in the form of functions. So this pattern is also called as function-based views. But since Django is object-oriented programming language, we can use classes instead of functions. And for this, Django provides a lot of convenience feature by the way of generic views. For example, we have a detail view right over here. For this, Django provides a generic detail view, and for the index, Django provides a generic list view. So let us see how we can use all of these things one by one. First, let us go back to the documentation, and if I scroll a little bit down, so we need to change two files. The first thing, we need to change the urls.py file, and the second thing is obviously we also need to amend the code inside our views file. But inside the documentation, they are first changing the urls file and then they are changing the views file. But we will do in the reverse order. First, I will show you how to write the view. Then we will go and update the URL. So let us have a look at the views file. So this is the first view that they are creating, and this is for the index view. Now don't worry, we will write all of the code line by line, so you don't have to get confused. Let us go back to our code editor. And the first thing is we need to do a couple of imports. So let us go to the top. And here I can say that from Django.views, I want to import generic. Now there are a couple of things that we don't need. For example, this loader. So let me take it out. We also don't want the 404 error. So let me take it out as well. And let us go right over here, just above the index function. Let us make some space and let us create a class, and let us call the class as index view. Now this class has to inherit from generic.list view. Now this list view provides us with a lot of convenience feature. So let us see how we can use them one by one. So the first parameter that we want to specify for our class of list view is the template name. So we can simply say that the template name would be, and let me just copy from right over here. So this is going to be our template name. The next thing that we want to specify is our context. So remember, inside the context, we are passing a key by the name of latest question list. So what we can do is we can override one parameter inside our list view, and we want to override the parameter of context object name. So the context name that we want to pass to our template is this one. So let me just copy and paste right over here. And the next thing is we also need to override a function called as getQuerySet, because if you see right over here on line number 19, we are specifying that we have a very specific requirement. We want to query the database by the publication date, that too in descending order, and we simply want to display the first 5 questions only. So what we can do is we can override the function which is called as getQuerySet. Now this function is actually coming from our list view that we have inherited. So let us change the way we query our database. So the first is obviously yourself. Here we simply want to return, and we want to return exactly all of this. So let me just copy and let me paste it right over here. Let me get the formatting right. Let us also specify the return type. So this returns the query set of our question. So let me just copy and paste it right over here. So again, let me try and repeat what we have done inside this class. So what we have done is we have converted this function based view to a class based view. Now this template name and context object name, so these are your class parameters which are coming from the class of list view which we have inherited. This method of getQuerySet is also coming from our list view, but we need to override it because we have a specific requirement for the question that we want to display. The next part is changing our URLs. So let us go back to our URLs. So inside the URLs, we need to tell to Django that instead of using this index function based view, I want you to use the class based view. So let me just copy and paste and let me comment out this line. So instead of using this function, what we can do is we can use the index view class that we just created. But we also need to call the method that we want to call this class as view. Now remember, no matter what, we always want to have the request and the response cycle, and that is what is being taken care of in this method right over here. Now if we go back to our browser and let me go to my index page, and everything works just as before. So effectively what we have done is we have simply converted the function based view to a class based view. The next is they are showing how to use the class based view for our details view. So let us see how we can do that. So let us go back to our code editor and let us go back to our views file. The next one is for the detail, and here we can create a class. Let us name the class as detail view. Now since we want to create a detail view, for that let us inherit from generic dot detail view. Now remember, for the previous one, for the index we inherited list view, but for the detail one we are inheriting from detail view, and this is because we simply want to display one single model. We don't want to display a list of models. Next, we can specify that the model that we want to display is the question, and next we can specify the template name. The template name is right over here. So let me copy all of this and let me paste it right over here. Let us also create one more view for our results. Let me just copy and paste all of these things, and this has to be our result view. Just we need to change the name of the template. From detail it has to be results. Now let us go back to our URLs. So this one is for the details. So this we can say that we want to use the detail view, but remember to call the method as view, and the same thing for results. So this becomes our result view as view. Let us save everything and let us go back and let me refresh the page. Let us click on this one, and it seems that we have an error, but there is no need to panic. Let us try and understand what the error is saying. So what this error is saying, that we want to call the detail view by either a object primary key or the slug inside our URLs. So let us go back to our URLs file and let us see what the error is saying. So the error is saying that whenever we want to use the details view, we have to pass the primary key or slug. So we need to change this from the question ID to primary key, and also for the results view. So this also has to be changed from question ID to a primary key. And this is because the way how the list view are built inside Django. So if we go to our views file, remember that we are inheriting from detail view, and for this also we are inheriting from detail view, and the inbuilt detail view is expecting one parameter called as primary key. So for example, here we have specified the parameter name as question ID, but the inbuilt views inside Django has named this parameter as simply your primary key, and that's about it. Now if we go back and let us try to refresh, now you can see everything is back to normal. So let us try to vote. Yes, let us vote on yes, and that's it. For yes we have 2 votes, and as you can see everything is working fine. Let us click on vote again, and suppose we say no, Python is not easy to learn. Let us vote, and as we can see we have one right over here. Now let us go back to our documentation and let us see what's happening next. So this was our URLs. So we updated all of them. As you can see, this we are using a class based view, and also we have to update our URL from the question ID to the primary key, and this is the views file. So we have done all of these things, and I think we are at the end of this one as well. So the next part is all about testing, and we will start testing right in the next video.